We move to Sunday. Speaking of those San Francisco 49ers, we start with them 3-2, 1-2 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons, 2-3, 1-1 at home. We're at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. We had some ass clown mention that maybe people will watch our show if we knew how to spell the Falcons appropriately.
That's on Jose. He's not here. We can throw him under the bus. He's not here today.
We know how to spell the Falcons. It's a fucking joke, man. God, it did make me angry. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia thinks we can't spell the fucking Falcons. Jesus Christ, man. 49ers come in off a dominant 37-15 win at Carolina, but the win was very costly. God, just seems like we go through this every single year. Injuries piling up on this 49ers squad. Let's start with the line history here. This opened up with Atlanta as 6.5-point dogs, and we are down to 5. Down to 5. This total opened up at 42.5 and has gone up to 44. Let's take a look at the cash here. We have slight line value according to Sports Insights on the Atlanta Falcons. 7,742 tickets in, 29% of the tickets, 63% of the cash on Atlanta. Sharps are on Atlanta. 64% of the tickets are on the under, but just 50% of the cash on that under. And we've seen it move up 1.5. Christopher Comentini says the Falcons backdoor cover machine. MDR24 says the Falcons, only team 5-0 against the spread. Are they 5-0 against the spread?
They were the only 4-0 team against the spread. Now they're the only 5-0 team.
Wow. Let's discuss this. And we'll start with the 49ers. So they lose starting cornerback Emmanuel Mosley to a season-ending torn ACL. They lose safety Jimmy Ward, who had just come back, to a broken hand. We know that Nick Bosa is out with the injured groin, and Robbie Gould has hurt his knee. Jimmy G was 18 of 30 for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Cash in the first quarter, first half is very easy, and I won't be afraid to move on it again, even, I think. But I'll have to hear what the chat and Andy are saying on this. Ayuk caught 3 passes for 58 yards. Kittle 5 for 47. Jeff Wilson ran 17 times for 120 yards and a touchdown. Tevin Coleman returned to the Niners earlier this year. We didn't have him last year. He was on the Jets, and he ran 8 times for 23 yards and a touchdown. Caught 3 passes for 44 yards and a touchdown. But they completely overwhelmed the Panthers. The defense came in having allowed 37 points through 4 games. Now has held all 5 opponents to fewer than 20. They sacked Merrifield 4 times before he was knocked out with the high ankle sprain. P.J. Walker came in relief and was sacked twice. So they followed up a 7-sack performance against the Rams with 6 more here. That's the first time since the first 2 weeks of the 1985 season that San Francisco has been able to do that. And the 21 sacks on the season are the most through 5 games since they had 22 in 1998. So Shanahan said that he will know more about how long Ward will be out after he has surgery this week. Big shout out to our guy, Tuate Latte. It says, I have the 49ers -9. No Patterson, probably no Pitts. How do the Falcons score? That is true, but let's just go over everything that the 49ers are dealing with. That Sharps are obviously looking at. So Trey Lance, Trent Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Ty Davis-Price, Azeez Al-Shaair, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, adding to the players that they lost in the last game. Now, we talk about teams staying out east. They're doing that. They are in West Virginia. They didn't go home. And the Falcons won't be able to run on the Niners. San Francisco first in opponent's yard per rush and second in opponent rushing yards per game. Let's talk about the 49ers first, Andy, before we get into the Falcons.
Yeah, I think those injuries, maybe it doesn't cost them a win this week, but it might be costly down the road when they play some tougher opponents. It was a massive loss on their – I mean, the Mosley thing is both big. Mosley and Bosa, huge. I mean, you're starting to essentially – they're not all at the same positional group, but once you start losing a bunch of guys on the same side of the ball, it's pushing cluster injury time where, hey, this is a really good defense, but if you don't have to put 2 hats on Bosa ever because he's not on the field, it frees up a lot of things. And honestly, it probably helps in the run scheme too. Some of the run blitzes and just the I don't know, capital, the offensive line capital and tight ends and everything you have to put towards stopping him is not something you need to do now. And I get that the Falcons are missing some players, but I just look at how last week closed. And I'm not sure there's a lot of people that, let's say the Falcons and the Panthers played on a neutral. Now they're playing in the old St. Louis arena, wherever the Rams used to play. We put them together. I'm not sure anyone is making that a pick 'em. Like the Falcons are several point favorites in that. Like I have the Falcons 2.5 points better than Carolina. Again, I have them as my worst team, and they're about to take a downgrade with a different quarterback at this point. So the fact that last week closed at 6 and this week is still sitting right around 5.5, 6, I just can't agree with the number. The defense missing some pieces now. The second week, I get that they stayed in Greenbrier and they're not going to have to. I mean, nobody should ever, from here on out, should ever think about flying coast to coast to coast to coast like that too. Like find a place to stay. Everyone's doing it now. It's the smart move, but it's still a second straight road game. And I did bet some Falcons +6 today. You can still get that at Chris at like 117. Maybe for the show, I'll just knock it down to a 5.5. 5.5 minus 09 at Chris. Maybe there's a better number, but I will be on the Falcons at this number. It's again, the Niners don't give a shit if they win by 3. Like what we saw last week, they ran it up, but you can say, hey, this is maybe time to sell high in Atlanta because they're 5-0 against the spread, but it's a sell high on the Niners as well. Like they've been hot the last few weeks. We got some nice wins. It's just more of a numbers play. This should be like 4 on the road.
I want to stick. Arthur Smith has been good. It's fair to say that, but I just want to keep betting the first quarter, first half on the 49ers until I lose. Yeah. And at this point,
Arthur Smith is your longest tenured coach in the division.
That's crazy. That's nuts. So I can get you a 6 at -115.
Yeah, that's exactly what I bet this morning.
Okay, cool. Let's get you that, Andy. Andy moving on the Falcons here +6 at -115. And I want to just stick to what's working, and the Niners early is what's working. And I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to watch the line. I mean, if it keeps moving I'll wait until I think we've hit the end. So maybe I don't bet this tonight, because clearly the sharps are all over the Falcons, and everybody's going to be talking about that. And they're, and I can get a better and better line on the first quarter and the first half. So I'm just going to put my plan here to go right back to the well. Niners first quarter and first half. Cashed them both so easily last week.
Yeah.
And we'll Burgundy.
I feel like there was kind of a pall in that locker room too. That's like, I feel like not only did Matt Rule I'm sure that guy had feelers out in college already. Like he was ready to go. And I feel like the team, you can see how they performed. That team was not up at all for that game. Lame duck coach, the worst quarterback in the league. Yeah, it's a tough way to try to face a really tough team like that, the Niners. So selling a little on the Niners here on the second straight road game. Hopefully just Atlanta can keep it close or do that voodoo that they do and backdoor all the time.
MDR24 says when staying on the East Coast for the week, the 49ers are 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread under Shanahan, the second game. Twadi agreeing with the Niners spot. King Art liking the first half over in this game. And Burgundy Bet says, remember, late to the party, early to the funeral. When's the last time a team went 6-0 against the spread? Brooklyn Funk Project says Atlanta put all their energy into the divisional with Tampa Bay. This is a letdown spot at home, in his opinion. We have Andy on the Falcons +6 at -115. That's still available at Bovada and Bodog. And I plan on just going right back to the well. Niners first quarter, Niners first half. Focus on what Jimmy G does with those 15 scripted plays. Get in and get out with the cash. With this Falcons squad, they were down 21-0 until the 13:39 mark of the fourth quarter. No Kyle Pitts, no Cordero Patterson. We don't expect them to be back. We know Cordero's not going to be back. It's
no.
Marcus Mariota, 14-25, 147 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 7 times for 61 yards, but the 49ers just won't let that happen. Olamide Zaccheaus caught 2 passes for 39 yards and a touchdown. Drake London, 4 for 35. The Falcons were outgained 297-89 in the first half.
Yeah, it was again, that despite what we saw against the Chiefs, that's still my number one defense. Like that's my Super Bowl team, baby. That's still, I added some more 12-1. I'm in love with the ceiling for that team. I almost bet them -10. I guess I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, it
My
was.
God.
I cashed
Yeah,
on.
that was the first half. I wonder if they're like 0-5 first half. the Falcons here. I'm gonna have to go look at what their first half record. It feels like all of them have been, hey, we're coming back and getting within the number.
I cashed on them due to the under. I cashed on the under due to a breakdown from the Big Ragu on the Sunday show, and I was like, you're absolutely right. But I wasn't on it until I heard his breakdown. He moved on the first half. I ended up going on the full game, but they both worked. All right, we move on.